What is this? Accountability. You've been managing the story for 15 years. Today, the story manages itself.
Let them stay, Evelyn. I'm not here for an argument. I'm here because the record needs to be corrected. Out loud. In front of people who will write it down.
Alexander.
Cassandra Bell's accusation against me was false. You knew it was false. You used it anyway because you had decided long before that night that you wanted me out of this family. And the reason you wanted me out of this family is sitting in a genealogy archive that goes back 6 generations, and it is the same reason you never photographed me at family events. You never introduced me as your son without hesitation, and told me at the age of 11 to stop standing next to my brother in photographs.
You don't understand what it was like.
Then tell me, on camera, tell me what it was like.
You were so dark from the beginning, and my father-in-law loved you more than he loved Julian, more than he loved any of us. And every time he looked at you, every time he said your name, I saw it. That you were the one he had chosen. That all of this, the company, the name, everything we had built was going to pass through you. And I could not bear it.
Because of how I looked.
Because of how you looked. And because of what it meant. That there was something in this family we had spent generations refusing to acknowledge. And you, simply by existing, made it impossible to look away from. The accusation against my son was false. I knew it was false. I used it because I wanted a reason that the world would accept. Because I could not love him because he looked too much like an ancestor I was ashamed of. That is a sentence no one says out loud. Not in this family, not in any family like ours, so I found a sentence the world would believe instead. And I made it real. And I have carried it every day since.
I was in the room. I stayed silent. I will not insult you by calling it a mistake. It was a choice. And it was wrong. And I am sorry, not because you need to hear it, but because it needed to be said in the open, in front of people who will write it down.
I used to call him the mistake when we were children, when our parents weren't listening. I know. He never told anyone. No, he didn't. I was 10. Our mother had already taught us what we were supposed to feel, what he represented. I learned the lesson she gave us. You're not 10 now. No, I'm not. He doesn't need an apology, Sophia. He needs the people around him to stop pretending it didn't happen. Those are different things.
Your grandmother, Maya Daisy. You knew the name. In the archive. Of course I knew. I built the archive. She was the finest person in 6 generations of this family. She was brilliant and she was fierce, and she built half of what became Wolf Industries. Before any of the men in the room were willing to admit she had done it. And when she died, they put her name in a footnote and called the branch she came from distant. And you let them. I was young. And then I was older and it seemed too late. And then you were born and you were everything she was. The color of her, the mind of her, the way you walk into a room like you already own the argument. And I thought, here she is again. Here is the best of us. I should have fought for you the night they brought Cassandra Bell into this house. I should have fought before that, I know. I cannot give you back those 15 years. But everything that is mine, the company, the name, what remains of this family's honor, I want it to pass through you. Not Julian. Not because of strategy. Because you are the rightful heir of this family. Of all of it. Including her. A Daisy Wolf, 1887. I'm not doing this for the name or the company. I want you to understand that. I know. I'm doing it because she deserves to be remembered. And because if I don't, they win. Even now. Then you've already won.
How are you?
I don't know. Something I expected to feel like victory doesn't feel like I thought it would.
What does it feel like?
Quiet, like a room after a storm. Everything's still standing, just rearranged.
I keep thinking about Colade Hartford and a Daisy Wolf. Two people buried in two different archives by two different families for the same reason. And then, 100 years later, two people who carried them separately, thrown out of those same families for carrying them, ending up here.
They would have thought it was poetic.
They sound annoyingly resilient.
Runs in the family, apparently. I want to say something, and I need you to let me finish it.
All right.
This started as a transaction. You know that. I know that. We both walked in, our eyes open and our reasons clear. And somewhere between the death threat and Boston and the dark kitchen and counting to two, it stopped being a transaction. For me. I don't know exactly when. I know I didn't want to know when. Because knowing would have meant admitting that I had let someone in, and I had spent 15 years making certain I would never do that again. You went to Boston alone. You stood in that drawing room and said the thing I had carried for 15 years like it was simply true. Because it was simply true. And you said it out loud in front of everyone who needed to hear it. Not for strategy, not for the alliance. For me. And I have been trying to find the right container for what that means, and I can't find one, so I am just going to say it plainly. The first one was strategy. This one is a question. Elena, will you stay? Not because of the alliance, not because of the name, not because we are the same story from opposite sides, though we are. Because I would like, for the first time in a very long time, to build something with someone. And the only person I want to build it with is you. This is for you.
That was an extremely good speech for a man who claims not to feel things.
Yes or no, Elena?
Yes. Obviously, yes. It has been yes for a while, if we're being honest. I know what you did, and I know why. I know I was yours, that you carried me, that I came from you. And I know that wasn't enough. That you looked at me and saw Colade and decided that was a problem to be solved. I'm not here to destroy you, Victoria. I'm here so that you know I know. Whatever you thought you were taking from me when you chose Vivian, you didn't take it. I am still here. I am still standing. And I am exactly who I was always going to be. Do you think she would have liked Lagos, Adese?
I think she would have owned it by the end of the first week.
Runs in the family.